about how to make more money using the 5F formula. Now, what the heck is the 5F formula? Okay. But our first goal is, remember, out of the 5 steps, there's 5 steps that we have to do. We have to master these steps. Make more money. Every one of you that's watching this right now are going to make, manage, and spend money your whole life. Every one of you are going to do that. And would you spotlight me there? Okay, so every one of you are going to do that. Everyone you see, everyone you meet is going to make, manage, and spend money in their lifetime. Number 2 is that you need to separate it. You need to separate it into different groups. Number 3, you need to give some of it away. Number 4, you need to automatically invest. And number 5, you need to do the last part, which is to save and spend. Now, I'm going to show you real quickly on here, because this is so important that you get this, because this is crucial. Warren Buffett uses the same formula here. But step number 1 is to make more money. Now, I don't care if this is a business or an individual. Your goal is to make more money. You need to increase your sales. You need to increase your sales. You got to reduce your expenses. That equals a profit. So if this is a business, that's your goal. And that fits right into the 5 steps. Step number 1. Step number 2 is to separate to 3 groups. Number 3 is to give. Number 4 is to automatically invest. And then number 5 is to save and spend. But in order to really make this work, we really got to make the wealth formula. The wealth formula, this is why businesses are so successful. This is why people are so successful, is because of the wealth formula. What's the wealth formula? The wealth formula is you need to make money each month. As you make money, you've got to get money down into here. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how much money you spend. What I care about is number 4. Everything gets down to number 4. You need to make money times time. This is time. This takes time to do this. The strong companies, it takes time. Times have a go up in value. That equals wealth. That equals wealth. That equals generational wealth. When my mom and dad passed away, they left money and businesses for us 10 kids and the 70 grand and great grandkids, because they did this. They had a business. They increased the sales. They sold more vehicles. They reduced their expenses. They made a bigger profit. That all is the same exact same thing, but the big thing that they did is they just didn't go spend it on stupid things. They got it over here into this long-term investing. They did that for years. They made a profit over time, and it went up in value. Now, the way that most people need to do that is you need a side hustle. You need to figure out how to make more money. Now, for most people, some people make some money on that side hustle and they put it up here. For a lot of people, this is your job. Okay, that's your job. But your side hustle, they take your money there. What I try to do is to live off of this one with the jobs that I have or my spouse has, and really get a small business. And as it makes money, guess where I put it? I put it right down there. So we got involved in a multi-level marketing business years ago. I had a heart attack when I was 34 years of age. When I was 34 years of age, I almost wasn't here. 1/3 of the people who have a heart attack die. They're just gone. So I'm lucky, and I never forget it. I think about it every day that I'm living on borrowed time. And as they were wheeling me into the operating room, I looked over at my spouse and wondered if I was coming back. And if I didn't come back, who's going to take care of these 2 special needs children that I have? And so I got very motivated to make some big changes, not only in my health, but also in our long-term finances. So we started a small business, which is a multi-level marketing. Can you make money with MLM? Yes. Is it easy? No. The plus is to multi-level marketing is that it's a small amount of money to get started. The negative is that you have to enroll a lot of people. If you're going to do MLM, you've got to enroll 100 people. I don't care if they come in there and they say, hey, join our multi-level marketing. You won't have to do anything. It's a lie. You're in business for yourself. You're in business, not your goal is to build your business. That means that you need to enroll a lot of people. And then, like Zig Ziglar said, the only way you can get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life. And so if you're going to be in a multi-level business or direct selling, you have to learn how to market. You have to learn how to sell, and you need to enroll a lot of people. And my friend Robert Allen, after I had this heart attack, one of the things that his wife got involved in, and a very close friend of ours, Colette, who's been in our classes before, got us involved in I got in for the health issues, and I started on the products, and I've been on the products for 30 plus years now. And I started doing it as a business because, hey, I like the products and I thought it could make a huge difference in people's lives. And there's this audio tape that my friend Bob gave me, and the guy says, hey, let me just tell you the truth. The truth is you need to go enroll 100 people. You need to enroll 100 people. And I figured my 100 people wouldn't be very good. So I says, well, I'm going to have to enroll 200 people. And that's what I set out to do. And I enrolled 256 people. But my people that I worked with, us as a big team, enrolled over 2,000 people. Well, all that money that I've been making all that time from that side hustle has gone right down here. And every week, money goes into this account right there. Boom. And it's happened over for years and years and years. And then we invest it, so it goes up in value. Okay. And so now there's millions of dollars in there for my special needs children. Side hustle. That is a side hustle. If you're going to do some real estate, there's two kinds of real estate. One is to flip. Find good properties and flip them. That's one of the 5 F's. You can flip it and make a profit. When you make that profit, turn around, do it again. Or you can get rental income. Okay. And then as it makes a profit, your goal is to have it come down into your wealth formula. Try not to live off of it. That's the problem. Try not to live off it. Try to do all your side hustles and everything else, because the real goal is to get as much money down into step number 4 as you can. That is the key. There are people that don't make very much money, but they spend less than they make, and they get it into long-term investing. Okay. Governments of the world are printing too much money. If we want to invest in stuff that goes up in value, you've got to be able to do that. That's the key of where we're going. So now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about the 5 F's. This is part of the side hustle. And there's 5 F's right there that all these side hustles have in common. And I don't care what it is that you're selling. I don't care what kind of a program you're doing. There are 5 steps, and the 5 steps are very simple. The 5 F's. Number 1 is you need to find it. Number 2, you need to fund it. Number 3, you need to be able to fix it. Number 4 is where you're going to make your money. You're either going to flip it, or number 5, you're going to farm it. So those are the 5 F's. I want everybody to write that down. I want to see it on your picture. I want you to put that in there. Throw in the chat. I want you to get these 5 F's memorized. The 5 F's. Every time you're seeing a deal, every time you go anywhere, I want you to say, how are they doing the 5 F's? When I go to Disneyland, how do they find people? How do they fund it? Where did they get their money to build it? What kind of a problem did they fix? And then how are they making their profit? Are they flipping stuff, or are they getting residual off of stuff? So you're saying, well, Disney, how's that possible? All right, let's look at Disney. How do they find stuff? Well, back in the day, back many years ago, before Disneyland was ever created, they had a TV show, and Walt really wanted to build Disneyland. And so he started doing that. And so he had a great idea, but he learned that idea by watching his kids out on the merry-go-round. And he says, I wonder if I could do something else, with my daughters. And so when he was traveling, he went to Denmark. He needed a model. He needed to see a model of something that was working. And he went to Tivoli Gardens in Denmark. I've been there, into Copenhagen. And this amusement park is way older than Disney. And they had wonderful, clean, it was clean. The rides were fun. The people were having a good time. Because back in America, the idea of amusement park was Coney Island, where there was all kinds of games. The games were rigged. They made you think that you could win when in reality you couldn't win. And they were dirty and they weren't much fun. And so Walt says, I'm going to do something totally different than that. I'm going to do a different model. I'm going to do something similar to Tivoli Gardens. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my content. I'm going to use Mickey. I'm going to use these people that we've created, and I'm going to put them into something else. Okay, so he had found the organization and he found a model for it. How does he fund it? Well, how'd they fund it? Is that they got partners. They had partners that came in because they needed some money. They found partners to back them when they were building Disney or anything else. They needed to fix a problem. What was the problem? Well, the problem was that amusement parks were dirty. They were dirty. They weren't really safe. Nobody really wanted to take their family there. They didn't want to take their kids there. It was a carnival atmosphere, and he didn't want that. So he's charged an admission, which none of these other people did. He kept it clean. You can't walk 30 feet without seeing a garbage can. And in many of his parks, the garbage goes right down from the garbage can right to a system, and they throw it in this massive big refrigerator, so you can't even smell it. What smells has he got? You walk into Disneyland and they're pumping out smell. This smells like a bakery. What smells did you see at Coney Island? Well, it stunk. So he did 180 degrees opposite that with his different content. Now, how do they make money? They sell product. They sell all kinds of product. They sell admission. They sell products. They sell everything, food, everything right there. How does he farm it? Well, they do it online. They do it online with TV, that you can do streaming. So not only that, but they're charging you on a monthly basis. Okay, they're charging you every month. That's how they built their system. So as you're doing your 5 Fs, you need to say, what are the 5 things that we need to do? Now, I don't care if you're doing real estate. I don't care if you are selling clothes. I don't care. Whatever you're doing, you need to be a master of these 5 Fs. Okay, that is crucial. Now, last week we started talking about real estate, so I'm going to talk about real estate just a little bit more on this call that we're going to do right now. So 5 Fs. Again, I want you to get out another piece of paper. I want you to write these down. I want you to put them on a little piece of paper, a little 3x5 card, put it in your pocket, and I want you to look at that every day. This 3x5 card, I want you to have 2 sides to it. One side is the 5 steps with the wealth formula on it. The other side is the 5 Fs. And when you look at a business, I want you to say, how do they find their customers? How did they get their funding for their business or not funding? How did they get control of the asset if they needed it or not? Sometimes you don't need much money. What problem are they fixing? What problem are they fixing? What problem are they fixing? And how are they making their profit? Are they flipping stuff? Or are they getting long-term residual income? So the 5 Fs, that's what's so important. So I want to go back to real estate, but again, what are the 5 Fs? Number 1, write these down, and I want you to put them on a page. You need to find it. Number 2, you need to fund it or control it. Number 3, you need to fix it. This is probably the biggest one right there. Right there is to fix it. Then how are you going to make your profit? Well, that's number 4. You're either going to flip it, or number 5, you're going to farm it. So as you're walking down the street and you're seeing somebody selling something, how do they find their product? How do they get the money to be able to get that product? Do they get it on consignment, which means that they're just borrowing it and reselling it? Or did they buy it? And if they bought it, how did they get the money? What problem are they fixing? That's the huge one. What problem are they fixing? And then how are they making their profit? Are they flipping it and selling it, or are they farming it? Now, last week we talked about real estate, so I want to talk about real estate just for a little bit more time on this class. But remember, when we talked about that, we found a property, and this is one of the early properties that I bought that we donated to the foundation. And the reason I want to review this one with you is because not only did it fund the foundation, this is where we put the $3 million into the foundation. I'm going to show you where I got the money. And this is what you're going to be doing too, because this is long-term investing. All right. So on this particular one, we found a property. And again, you're going to multiply the numbers with exchange rates. You're either going to 10 times it or 5 times it or whatever it is, but you're going to I want you to understand the percentages. The percentage is what's the real important part. But we found a property that the value was 80,000. Now, I don't care if you put a 0 on there, make that 800,000. I don't care if you 2 times it or 3 times it to fit your wherever you live, but that's the value. That's what we could resell it for. How do you understand value? How do you determine value? How do you know what something's worth? You look at a bunch of them. So on here, I gave all of you the challenge of getting this bargain finder. You simply go to the successandmoneyfoundation.org and then go down, log in, and then go down to the downloads and free books and downloads. And then it's in the download section and you can print one of these, and you need to be printing 40 or 50 of these things and print them out. The first thing is to understand value. Until you understand value, everything's worthless. Until you understand what something's worth, it's worthless. Warren Buffett knows what things are worth. He knows how much income they're bringing in, how much their expenses are, and he knows how much profit they make. Okay. And then from there, people value that business. They value the business. And the marketplace is nuts. Okay. If you're talking, he says, if you're talking to one person, they can be rational. Talking one-on-one, people are rational. As a group, they're irrational. They just had a run on Silicon Valley Bank this last week. What happened? A couple of people said, hey, we're afraid that this company is going to go out of business. This bank's going to go out of business. Go pull out your money. And with social media, it went bigger, bigger, and bigger. And so all these people started a run on the bank. That's the problem with that part of it. Okay. But until you understand value. So what Warren Buffett does is he knows how much revenue they're bringing in, what their expenses are, and what their profit is. And then there's a multiplier. Okay. Just like See's Candy. He knew what the revenue was, he knew what the expenses were, and what the profit was. And so he knew that that's what it was worth. The marketplace had a value for it. And the marketplace is not right. The marketplace can be way off. Because remember, people move their money, supply and demand. If you have a whole bunch of people that are running towards bonds, they're pulling money out of stocks. They're pulling money out of stocks. If people are not buying real estate, then the supply and demand. If you've got, if you've got a lot of people looking for something, and there's a very small supply, goes up in value. But if nobody wants it, and there's a whole bunch of people that don't want it, well, then it's going to go down in value. So just remember those pieces as we go there. But remember, going back to our product right here, the value is $80,000. I knew it was worth more because I looked at a lot of properties. And I kept track of those properties, and just like Warren Buffett does. And when he sees that the street is undervaluing something, he knew it was worth more than what the street was doing. Then he jumps in and bought it. So I knew and I negotiated a price of 60,000. Now, why did I get it at 60,000? Well, because the buyer that bought it previously bought it for 30. Okay, he was making a 50% return on the total price. He probably put a small down payment on it, and he made a great return. I knew it was worth more because I looked at the street. So there's the price. So I found the good deal. Remember, only 1 to 3%. So 1 to 3 out of 100 fit our criteria. The vast majority of properties out there do not fit our criteria. You've got to go opposite what everybody else is doing. Okay. We want to find that 1 to 3%. And I don't care if you're looking at $1 billion deals or $100 deals. You got to find a good deal. That was the first thing. I found a good deal. Okay. Now, how did I get the funding on it? Well, I came up with the down payment, and the down payment in this case was $5,000. So now, what do I still owe? Well, I purchased it for 60. I put $5,000 down. I still owe him $55,000. Now, how am I going to pay him? Well, I could go to the bank and I could borrow the money from the bank. The problem with that is that if he got all of his money, he had to pay taxes on it. And he got a small rate of return. So I'll just give you an example. If he got all that 55,000, he's going to have to pay, let's just for ease, I'm going to say 20% in taxes. So it was 55,000. Actually, the total price was 60,000. He had to pay 12,000 in taxes, which left him 48,000. And he was only going to get about I'm going to be really, really generous here and just say that he's going to get a 5% rate of return, which he wasn't. He was getting like a 3, so you take that amount, and that equals $2,400 a year in revenue. Yeah, he got his cash out, but he's not making much more money. What did he want? What did he want is he wanted to be able to get a stream of income. So I came into him and says, instead of doing that, how about if I pay you the 55,000 at 10%, which is a lot higher than what he was getting at the bank, and I'm going to pay you $591.03 a month for 15 years. Now, did he like that? Yes, he loved that because he's going to not have to pay all this money in taxes because he didn't get it as a big lump sum. Number 2 is he gets a lot of revenue. Instead of getting $200 a month, he's going to get $600 a month, and it's going to come in like clockwork. And if I don't pay him, what's the collateral? He can get the property back. So that's how we funded it. In this particular case, that's how we funded it. Now, there's all kinds of ways that we could have made a profit on this, but the first thing is figuring out how to be able to buy it. And in this case, I wanted it for long term, and I owned that property for many, many years. That property went up in value. That property went from a $60,000 value to $490,000. It went from 60 to 490,000. And that property we had for 38 years. And what it is, we gave that to the foundation. Okay. Now you're saying, well, why the heck did you do that? Why would you give that away to the foundation? Well, because I had 20 of them. I had 20 buildings. So I gave this one plus 2 other ones plus some houses away. That's what funded the foundation. So now that's how we funded it. What did I do with it? I needed to fix something. Well, in this particular case, it was in pretty good shape. It didn't really need a lot. He was tired of managing it. And so for him, what was I fixing? What I was fixing for is he was tired of managing it. He was older. He lived next door, and the tenants drove him nuts. So even if you owned it and lived next door, I would have had a management company come in and manage it so that you didn't have to put up with it. What did I fix? I fixed that he was tired of managing it. That's what I fixed. The property is in pretty good shape. Now, how do I make a profit on it? How do I make a profit on it? Well, could I have flipped it? I bought it. I had the right to buy it for $60,000. Could I have written an offer to buy it for $60,000 and turned around and sold it to somebody else for $70,000? Yeah, it was worth $80,000. My purchase price was $60,000. I had $20,000 worth of profit in it. Could I have sold it and made a $10,000 profit really quick? I could have held it for longer and got a higher price, but could I have bought it, got the financing on it, and flipped it? I'm just going to flip it. I'm going to sell it. And a lot of people do that. And I've done that a lot. I've done that an awful lot. Now, when you're buying a property, just like you're buying products, you can either write a check and own it, you can have an agreement to pay them, or you can have an agreement to pay them later. Okay, it's called consignment. Right now, the major bookstores of the world, all the bookstores of the world, they don't own the books in the bookstore. Publishers send them the books, and when they sell them, they send them the money. If they don't sell them, then they send them the books back. Tragically, they just rip off the cover and send them the covers back and destroy the book, which is terrible. Okay, so they don't even own those books. You go into Amazon. Amazon doesn't own that product. They don't own it. They are just the seller. They just sell it. You go on to a car lot. Most of those cars are financed with some other company. And the guy that owns the car lot brings those in. He's got to finance them, and then he's going to turn around and sell them. Sometimes you could take a car and say, hey, here's a car, and I want you to sell it. And you put it on the lot, and if they sell it, they're going to sell it for one price. They're going to make a profit on. They're going to give you the balance. Okay, so that is one of the ways that you can do this. Now, you can also farm it. Now, what did I like about this? Well, what I liked about it was that the rent was $800 a month. And the payment was $591 a month. So there was $209 a month in positive profit each month. Okay, there's $209 for the profit each month. But guess what? Later on, we kicked up the rents. We kicked up the rents, and the rents kept going up. What happened to the price? Well, the monthly payments stayed the same. So when we got up to $1,200 a month, which wasn't very much because there was 4 units, then the profit went from $200 to $600. Now, remember, you've got taxes, you've got insurance, you've got maintenance. So you got all the rest of these costs, which are going to take off that. But I'm just showing you this as an example. The rental income went up, but the expenses stayed the same, and your profit margin goes up. Okay, that's why we do that. And so this is one of the properties that we owned, and it was a little bit higher interest rate. Now interest rates are probably the most important thing that you can really study. The interest rates. Remember when we talked about bonds, the big difference in bonds, what happens if it goes up or down? That's the big picture on bonds. The same is true with interest rates on properties. So a few years later, the interest rates, remember I was paying him 10%. The interest rates went down to 7%. So I approached him and said, hey, I can go to the bank and pay you off, give you all your cash, you can pay the taxes on it, and you can have a small income there, or you can reduce the rate to 7. Guess what he did? He reduced it to 7. So instead of 15 years, I think we paid it off in like 12 years. Now, who paid that property off for us? Who paid that property off for us? The renters. I put the down payment on, I managed it, I fixed it up. I kept track of it, but it was the renters. Later on, I had a management team that came in, and I didn't see that property for years and years and years. We moved to California, but I kept my real estate. Now, the reason I show you this, and you're going, well, that's just one property, that doesn't really mean much. Well, we used the same 5 steps, the find it, fund it, fix it, flip it, and farm it. And we did this exact same thing, but the difference was, you're gonna laugh on this one, but we did 7 buildings. We did 7 buildings, okay? And I knew that the value of those buildings was at least 1.6 plus in value. And I bought it for 1.35. Now, why did I buy it for less? Because I knew what it was worth, and he was motivated, wanted to sell it. And we put this up, and I started making monthly payments on it. Now, when we talk about fix, what was the problem? The problem was that this guy owned these. He gave his daughter and son-in-law the ability to manage it. They didn't do a very good job. They put bad people in it, and they wrecked the property. And he found it was easier just to sell the property than to do anything else. He sold this to me for nothing down. Why? Because he wanted out. All right. He's that 1 to 2%. You got to look for those guys. I fixed it. Of the 28 units, before I bought the thing, I gave 20 of them their notice to move. I kicked them out, and I put better tenants in there. But over the years, those properties paid down. So here's the purchase price. I'm going to just show you on one deal. Because I did this multiple times, not only with the 7 buildings, but other buildings. But I'm going to show you as an easy example. So the purchase price was this, but the value went up to this. But it took 24 years. How long did it take? The rule of 72 says if you take 3% rate of return times 24, that equals 72. It took 24 years for it to double in value because it was only going up 3% a year. But how much money did I have into it? I didn't really have much into it. Now I had maintenance costs. I fixed it up. I had other expenses in there. But over 24 years, the property doubled in value. It went from $250 per unit per building to $500. But guess what also happened? The loans went down to 0 because over that 25-year period of time, I increased the loan payment a little bit and they paid off. What is my profit on it? Well, my profit's the whole difference. Okay. Now, the nice thing was I had 20 of them. That's how you create long-term wealth. So I took a simple strategy that I used when I was very young. I wasn't even married. It was in the early 80s. Did one little property, learned from it, learned from it, learned from it. And then I multiplied that and I did it over and over and over again using the same strategy. Okay, using the same strategy. Now, when you go into the successmoneyfoundation.org, successmoneyfoundation.org is a labor of love by myself and by some great friends of mine, best-selling authors, educators, lecturers. Robert Allen, I've worked with Robert Allen for many, many years. And I worked with him not because I wanted a job. I worked with him because I wanted to learn how he was doing what he's doing. And with him, I got exposed to Nick Kuhn, who had bought and sold over 1,100 houses. Wade Cook, that taught me about flipping in contracts. My dad taught me about flipping in contracts. I asked a lot of people and I learned from those people. And then I did what they did, but multiplied it. That's the reason we teach you what we're teaching. So this is a legacy project. But when you go to the successmoneyfoundation.org, log in and then go to courses. And then under the course menu, there is a download button, free books and downloads. And there's some wonderful ones on there on nothing down techniques that Bob Allen did. So if you're interested in real estate, and again, I don't care if this is real estate. I don't care if you're selling clothes. I don't care if you're flipping iPhones, eBay, whatever it is. They all have the same 5 F's in it. Okay. You just have to tweak them a little bit. But there's some wonderful materials there. You need to go through the first book, How to Wake Up the Financial Genius Inside of You by Mark Harrelson. Mark Harrelson owned the apartment complex that I lived in when I was going to college. And he brought up a case of books. Successful people share. It's just natural of what they do. They want to help other people. When you help other people, you get what you want. Zig Ziglar, the only way you can get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life. That's crucial. That's key. He brought a case of books. Those cases of books, he handed them out to the students like a dummy. I didn't talk to him, but I got a book, read the book, got excited about it, talked to my dad about it because my dad taught me a little bit about real estate beforehand, but I wasn't really listening. Now I'm listening. And I learned a lot from there. So that's a wonderful book. I emailed Mark a little while ago, said, Mark, can I give that book anyway? He says, sure. I'd love to have you give that book away. The Road to Wealth, where we took the people out of an unemployment line. What are the systems that we use to take somebody that didn't have any money and bad credit to go out and flip something? They needed to flip something. And that's the story of how they did it. They used real estate, but you can use it with anything. Okay. And then the launch, the real estate launch is another product that Robert Allen's letting us use. Those are wonderful. The multiple streams of income course. The multiple streams of income course is another one that you have access to go through. I highly recommend that you go through all the multiple streams of income materials. These are wonderful people that are leaving a legacy. That's, I'm just the founder of the thing, but these guys are all part of the legacy program and they want to help you. And so that's why we do what we do. All right. So getting back to our piece right here, we used the same strategy. We just multiplied it, and did it over and over again. That's the key. So that's part of the 5 F's. You need to find a good product, find a good one that has some margin in it, has some profit in it. You need to be able to control it. Okay. You can take it on consignment. You can make an offer to be able to pay him later. Maybe just talk to that just for a second, because that's kind of I'm going to show you another property that I did. I found a little property, and I'm not going to use the numbers. Well, I can use the numbers. This one was, remember, I did this thing 40 years ago. So I've been doing this for a long time. And what happened on this property is that I knew it was worth $60,000. The seller sold it to me for 50, but I wrote him an offer. And I said, here's my offer to you. This property, we need to fix it up. It's a 65,000 probably value. We need to fix it up. He lived in California and I lived in Utah. We need to fix it up. I'm going to make you an offer that I will pay you 50,000, but I'm not going to pay you for 120 days. Why? Because we need to fix this property up. I need at least 120 days because we need to fix it up. And he said, okay, you can buy it in 120 days for $50,000. I went in and mowed the lawn, and I painted the outside, and I cleaned up the inside, and I actually painted the inside. That's all I did. I spent probably $2,000 maximum. Now, I took a little bit of a risk here, but I knew that the property was worth a lot more than that. Could I have turned around and sold it for worst case scenario, $52,000? Sure. Could I have come in and bought it if I ran out of daylight? Yeah, I could have got financing on it. Could I brought in a partner to come up with the money? Yes. I could have come up with all these different reasons, but I fixed it up. But as soon as I got it under contract, I controlled it. I didn't own it. I controlled it, but didn't own it. But I had the right to buy it for that price in the future. I put a little bit of elbow grease into it. I don't even know if I spent that much. I probably only spent $1,000 back then, max. And then I turned around and I sold it for $60,000. So I bought it for 50, sold it for 60, and I made $10,000 on it. Now you're saying, well, how can you make money off of it? Well, you're either going to flip it or you're going to farm it. Okay. Or there's subsets of that. You can trade. Can you trade it for something else? And so on one of the properties I did, because I did a lot of these, I sold it for that price. But what did I get? Well, this guy had a mobile home and he had a speedboat. If he's getting into my house, he doesn't need his mobile home any longer, and a speedboat and some cash. And so I traded him those things for this. I took my profit and I says, okay, what else you got? Well, I got a mobile home. Well, I'll trade you that mobile home. I'll trade you the speedboat and I'll trade you some of this cash. And then I took that mobile home and what did I do? Is I rented that out on a rent to own. And I did that on a rent to own. And so that's how I flipped it and made my profit. So not going into too great a detail, there's 5 F's. Every time you look at a property, every time you look at a business, every time you are just wanting something to do with your brain, how are they finding their customers? How are they funding it or not funding it? How are they controlling it? How are they fixing the problem? What is the problem they're fixing? There's a problem. They're fixing a problem that other people are having. How are they making money? How are they farming it? Are they flipping it? Or are they farming it monthly? Are they getting money off these guys monthly? Or are they just flipping it? And once you start to do that, you're going to look at every business and it's a game. Businesses are a game and games are fun. So let's go play the game of business. Real estate is a game and games are fun. Let's go play the game of real estate. Investing is a game and games are fun. Now, a lot of people are freaking out because they're making the money real. The real estate's going up or it's going down. The stock is going up or down and they're freaking out because it's real. It's not. It's a game. And as soon as you change it from being real to just numbers and you turn it into a game, then you can look at it from a game point of view. Okay, you can look at it as a game point of view. Now, instead of putting money into stuff, you start learning. You do it on paper. I have a brother that says, I wish I would have done this with the stock or this with the stock. And I says, okay, we'll take 10% of your money and you can go and pick and choose. But before you do that, I want you to start a little notepad and say, I bought this stock at this price and this is why I bought it. And here's the date I bought it. Then you have to decide if you wanted to sell it. And if you sold it, did you make money on it? And you do that all on paper. Do it on paper for 90 days. And when you're smarter than the 500 biggest companies in America or Warren Buffett, then you take real money and you go do that. And there are people that make a fortune trading stock. Okay. Warren Buffett doesn't do that. He's not a speculator. He says, this is a business. This is how much money it makes. This is how much profit it makes. And this is its multiplier, meaning this is how many years it takes for it off of its profits to pay for itself. Just like real estate. Real estate took me 24 years for the real estate to pay for itself. And then it was free to me. It went up in value and all the loans paid off. We're doing the exact same thing here as we're talking about those things. So there's 5 F's. You got to find good deals. You got to fund it or control it. You need to fix it. What's wrong with it? And then you need to figure out how you're going to make a profit on it. How are you going to exit from there? And then if you'll do those things, this will all make sense to you. So remember, life's a game. Money's a game. real estate's a game, and games are fun. Study how to play the game. And guess what? You can learn how to play the game better by simply going to the Success Money Foundation and going to the classes. Now, you can go through a lot of stuff on social media, and that's wonderful. The problem is there's too much junk. For every 1,000 videos out there, they're all junk and they're all short. Everybody wants your 30 seconds worth of attention span or 10 seconds. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in giving you a step by step by step by step by step. That's how you do it. So you need to learn, you need to earn, and you need to return. So this has been Tom Painter. Thank you so much for watching. We are going to come back and we're going to give away a bunch of money. So that's what we're going to be doing next. And, make sure you jump into our classes. We're going to start doing 2 classes a day on Thursdays. And so we have people all over the world that do not have access to being able to do this. You can go to Facebook, go to facebook.com/groups with an S, groups/Success and Money Foundation Worldwide Group. If you just put Success and Money Foundation Worldwide Group, you'll come right to us. All these classes we do are done live and you can watch them immediately, but we want you to be interactive with us. And we want to be able to do more and more classes. We want to have more and more fun with them. And we're here for you. Our goal is to get to 200,000 hours this year and to have 20,000 students. Okay. On my bucket list, most of the stuff I've ever wanted to do in my life, they're all crossed off. I've done all that stuff. I'm going to be turning 64 here in a month from today. And my goal is to get up to 1 million hours and 100,000 students before I die. And I don't want to die yet. So, we want to get there. That's what my goal is. So thanks to everybody for watching. Make sure you come to our live classes. We're going to say goodbye to our friends from around the world. We're going to put in the links for all of you to be able to make some money. Now, there's 4 ways that you can individually make money by doing what we're talking about. And I'm going to talk about that in our next section. So I'll be right back in just a second.